Okay. Good morning. My name is Tina Sebastian, and I'm the co-founder of Cocoon, a quantum computing startup based in Columbus, Ohio. Cocoon is currently in stealth mode, and we're working on quantum solutions for simulation, optimization, machine learning, and artificial intelligence problems in the manufacturing domain. Before I start, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Denise, Andre, and Farai for their kind invitation to speak and for all their hard work that went into organizing this event. It is not every day that female founders like us get to address such a massive audience, and this would not have been possible without their foresight and vision. To talk about my background a little bit, I have a degree in computer engineering from the Cochin University of Science and Technology and an MBA from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. I used to be a classical software engineer for the last 12 years and recently moved over into quantum computing. I'm sure that all of you have already had a heavy intake of technical information, and I'm going to break the pattern a little bit and not present. And just, I'm not going to talk about the deep technical details or what Cocoon is doing right now, but rather the 5 main principles of making a smooth and informed transition. I'm sorry, somebody requested the mic, so I handed them the mic. So I'm not going to talk about the deep tech details of what Cocoon is doing right now, but rather the 5 main principles of making a smooth and informed transition from a classical software engineering background into quantum computing. Now, this may be more useful for all the classical engineers listening who are thinking of making your first move into quantum, but it may apply to everyone else too. Thank you for confirming that. So going into the principles, my first principle is you don't need degrees or credentials, you just need hard work. So several years ago, when I was leading a team of software developers, the HR sent me a couple of candidates from a coding bootcamp. Now, these are young men and women who had worked for a few years in a very different profession, like marketing and legal, and they had decided to switch to software at some point. They did not have an engineering degree or a computer science degree and had absolutely no experience in working as a software developer until they had attended this 3-month coding bootcamp. Now, having grown up in India, where almost every person you meet is either a doctor or an engineer, I was initially very hesitant to bring them on board. But we did end up giving them a chance, and that was when I realized that I was very wrong. At least a few of them outperformed their very educated counterparts only due to their sheer determination and hard work. And I see the exact same thing in quantum as well. There will be no shortage of people to tell you what you can and cannot do. There will be a lot of people who will not take you seriously or ask if you have a master's or PhD degree as a basic requirement. Since this is a nascent field, they won't be able to ask you for 15 years of quantum development experience, but they may try. And none of this will matter. All you need is a willingness to learn and put in the work. Now, I do not mean to discount the knowledge of a PhD or a researcher in this field. They are extremely critical to the growth in this field and entirely responsible for all the advances made so far. But I strongly believe that every person is capable of understanding absolutely anything. So our minds are nothing short of a miracle, and it is we who tell it what it can and cannot do. So if I tell my mind that it will never understand, say, the principles of superposition and entanglement, it won't. But if I tell it that these are simple concepts like addition and subtraction, it'll understand not just these, but pretty much everything else too. So don't exclude yourself on the basis of credentials or past experience. Principle number 2, not all training resources are equal. Find the best fit for you. When I was starting out in this field, I spent a lot of hours online reading and learning on my own. And gradually I became so interested that I signed up for the certification course at MIT. That was when I realized that a lot of the hours I had spent in the previous months had been wasted because of confusing explanations online and incomplete information. With a booming interest in this field, there is a lot of noise. We see one breakthrough after another being published in the news day after day, to the point that we no longer get too excited when an actual breakthrough is announced. And similarly, there are lots of blogs and websites coming up daily. So be very careful about where you go for your information. Apart from courses and certificates at valid universities, some of the bigger players like Microsoft and IBM have very thorough and free resources to ramp up and build your skills. There are also resources like our OneQuantum network and the Quantum Open Source Foundation to help you transcend the initial learning curve. And if you're a startup founder in this space, the Creative Destruction Lab at the University of Toronto is an excellent place to consider. Now, principle number 3, you will fail and fail again and again. Keep trying. Now, this is not a principle specific to quantum, but to life in general. And to borrow heavily from some of my favorite business leaders and inspirational speakers, you have not succeeded until you have failed. When I was starting my quantum journey, there were a lot of concepts that went right over my head. And it just took going at it over and over and over again until the main concepts finally sank in. And you're never done. There is always more to learn and understand, especially in a rapidly progressing field like quantum. I have had colleagues with very different views of experience. While a young developer with 2 years of experience may consider himself or herself an expert, there would also be engineers with several decades of experience who consider themselves beginners. Now, personally, I prefer to always frame myself as a beginner because this keeps you humble enough to ask questions and acknowledge that you do not know everything, that you may have to visit Stack Overflow once in a while for help with a bug, rather than refusing to take on that project since that is not your area of expertise. So be eager to fail and do not let failure throw you off track. Get right back on and keep trying. And it is okay to be different. We have normalized the wrong use of what it means to be a founder or a leader to a very specific set of attributes that anyone that does not fit this mold is usually unconsciously excluded. You can look different or you can look like everyone else. You can speak with an accent or not. You can be the loudest person in the room or the most soft-spoken person. It really does not matter. And this is especially true for women in technology, when we have to battle not just our own doubts and imposter syndromes, but also stereotypes about competence and all kinds of unconscious judgments. The only way out is to reframe your thoughts, to let failure boost your confidence and not destroy it. And so another principle at quantum is that we love failure. Now going to principle number 4, you're not going to do it by yourself. I have spent hours reading books on quantum computing and taking certifications, which are all very valuable, but it was the actual debate and discussion with experts in this field that brought me the most value. So find your mentors, build your quantum network, use groups like OneQuantum to reach out to the thought leaders in this field and seek their inputs. Choose a community, either on LinkedIn or a local meetup, to regularly get together and share your knowledge and learn from others. And for those of you who prefer just putting their heads down and working and find networking difficult, what I found useful in getting over that internal barrier was to come from a place of generosity. When you think of networking as an opportunity to help others and offer value, rather than saying the right thing or looking smart, it becomes very easy to share and interact. And that will finally be the most important factor in how successful you are, not just in this field, but in any field. So defining principle at Cocoon is that we are not in the business of quantum. We are in the business of humanity. Be competitive, but also be sure to root for others. especially those new to this field. Champion them, don't exclude them. Celebrate their successes and be there for them when they fail. There is enough room in this huge boat of quantum for all of us, and a rising tide lifts all boats. And finally, coming to my last and final principle, experiment and be fearless. The future is yet to be defined, and we are all creating it one moment at a time. Last summer, we had no idea we would be wearing masks and using and overusing Zoom at the same time this year. We have no idea what we'll be doing at the same time next year. The only thing certain is uncertainty. And this, rather than being our biggest fear, should be our biggest opportunity. One of the defining principles at Cocoon is that if what we're doing is not scaring us, then it is not worth doing. We get to decide a future and the future of quantum. The exciting aspect of this field is that there's so much more to be discovered and created, and we are getting started at the right time. If we are fearless enough and not waiting around for permission to take the next big step, we have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to actually change the future of mankind. And we must be fearless and embrace it, regardless of all the noise and the naysayers around us. So here's to an exciting, trailblazing quantum future for all of us. Thank you, and I welcome any questions.
Tina, thank you for an amazing talk. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You look great. Amazing talk. Really motivating. I'm seeing thunderous applause from Christina Sargent.
Thank you for all the kind comments.
Thank you. And, you know, I love your perspective that we all have to put ourselves out there and try. And I think that that's really what this conference is about, is lifting each other up and having each other's back so that we can all be our best and help each other.
Yes. That's the whole idea.
So I loved your talk about generosity, and I think that's something that all of us need to remember and work on, is being generous with each other. I think we can all succeed.
Definitely, yes.
So I just wanted to say thank you for an incredible talk. And thank you to all the speakers today for just incredible, motivating talks with a lot of insight and guidance. And I hope everybody found it as valuable as I did. And then we are going to now hand over to Andre, who's going to get us into the cocktail hour. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. And great job, Tina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Cocktail or coffee hour, indeed. One-on-one networking for anybody that wants to join. Thank you so much, Tina. Tomorrow we will have Celia Mersbacher, Deputy Director of the Quantum Economic Development Corporation, as our keynote speaker, followed by Christina Escoda, President and CEO of Orca Computing. We will go down under with Jessica Richmond to hear about quantum in Australia. We will go into quantum space with Ancia Lamas-Linares. And we will hear about a German company from Neymar Schütter. Thank you so much for everybody. This concludes our talks for today. We will close this session. You can join the one-on-one networking for the next hour or so from the main page of our lobby. Bye-bye.